It looks like we have an update on the King Roadhouse. Let's get into it. Crime reactions. So, today, the University of Idaho put out an official statement regarding the demolition of the King Roadhouse. Now, apparently, and we are going to read the statement, but apparently, today, the 14th, and tomorrow, the 15th, the defense team, Bryan Kohberger's defense team, are going to be over at King Road taking measurements, taking photos, doing drone footage, probably things that I kind of expected to have already been done at this point, and definitely way before all of the differences in structure have now taken place, right? Because we know that they've had cleanup crews go in there. We know that they've had some parts of the house actually removed and brought into the labs. All of the doors are closed off, all of the windows are closed off. There's a lot of structural changes today that were not there the night that all of this happened. We also have to remember the Faro scanning was done twice. So anything when it comes to the demolition of King Road has been a big, huge problem because it shouldn't even be a topic of discussion until after trial. And that's just like normal thinking. I don't really care about the way that technology apparently is supposed to make things easier or make it to where the jurors can have some sort of realistic 3D virtual walkthrough of the house and have a virtual high-tech representation shown to them about what possibly happened that night. There is nothing like the real thing. And you can literally put that statement on almost everything. So as you can see, this is straight from the University of Idaho's website. I know there was a couple of people sharing the statement on Twitter, but they weren't showing the link to the actual website to the university, which I thought was kind of strange. So I just went ahead and went and found it myself, and this is it. And I will have a link to this actual article on the University of Idaho's website down in the description box. So this states, King Roadhouse access given to Kohberger Defense, demolition set for December the 28th. Now that's like 2 days before the 1 year mark of his arrest. So again, it's been a year. It's been over a year since the actual murders, and it's been almost a year since they finally put someone in handcuffs. December 14th, 2023, because yes, this was published earlier today. Teams representing the defense for Bryan Kohberger will access the King Roadhouse today and tomorrow, Thursday, December 14th, and Friday, December 15th. The defense asked University of Idaho in November for access to the house in December as they prepare their case for a trial, the date of which has not been set. The defense indicated they want to take photographs, measurements, and possibly gather drone footage of the house. Following this, the university will prepare for demolition of the house. Demolition will begin Thursday, December 28th, and it may take several days to completely clear the site. Media instructions for viewing the demolition are found below. The house was given to the university in early 2023. It is the site where U of I students Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves were killed. It has been the intention of the university since being given the house to demolish it. It's the grim reminder of the heinous act that took place there, President Scott Green said. And I know that there's a whole bunch of background information when it comes to Scott Green, okay? And apparently, because, he's the president. He's the president of the University of Idaho. And I know that there's people that have found out that Scott Green, as a child, lived in King Road, lived in the King Roadhouse. He grew up there. And there's all kinds of conspiracies and stuff going around with that. But we haven't heard anything about him having a horrible childhood or anything like that. And the house is getting demolished. It's not being kept and, being created as some sort of memorial or historical marker or anything like that. It's getting demolished to the ground. So I don't know what him growing up in that house honestly has anything to do with anything. It's not an uncommon thing for people that work in certain areas and that grew up in certain areas to be involved in their communities like that. It's not uncommon at all for someone who grew up in a town to eventually get a job in the same town and, still have some sort of communication in some way with their childhood home. It's just not that unusual. I know people are trying to make something out of that. I just honestly don't see what it could be, considering the house is being destroyed. While we appreciate the emotional connection some family members of the victims may have to this house, it is time for its removal and allow the collective healing of our community to continue. See, I don't really know if that statement's accurate. And see, I know Christy in one of the latest interviews, she made it sound as if, that house being destroyed was going to be like an emotional day for her. But I think it's only really like an emotional day because it still is a signification, I guess. I can't really figure out the word I'm trying to use for that. But it's still like a symbol for what happened to her daughter and what happened to Maddie, right? And for what they're having to go through as a family. But when it comes to that house having like memories for any of the family members, as far as I know, at least when it comes to Kaylee, Christy herself said she's never gone over there. Even though Maddie lived there for a while before Kaylee moved in, she was never over there. So there's no like special memories that took place in that house for them to have like collective. So really it's just a symbolism of something tragic in their lives. It's not really like an emotional connection that they have to the house itself. It's more of like what the house actually means in the distance. At least that's my opinion. The decision to tear down the home during winter break was made as an attempt to decrease further impact on the students who live in that area. See, that actually kind of makes more sense with the timing that they're trying to do this with. Like, I still disagree with the whole thing. I believe regardless of how messed up the structure of the house is, whatever, the right thing to do would be to leave it until trial was over. I mean, even if appeals and stuff end up getting filed or whatnot, at least leave it until the trial is over. I just don't understand what the big deal is. That's the right thing to do in a lot of people's minds. Some people say, whatever, just get rid of it and let's move on already. But in reality, the real right thing that everyone knows should happen here is the house should stand until trial. Once that's done, do what you will. But it does make sense because during winter break, most people go home. So all of that construction stuff that's going on there, it isn't going to interfere with anyone's normal day-to-day life or them being able to not study or anything like that because of all of the noise and the chaos. So again, the timing, even though I disagree on the whole thing, in general, the timing, it makes sense. Germer or Germer, one of the two, construction, will serve as general contractor and provide project oversight while also performing site rehabilitation, grading, utility disconnection, and demolition assistance at a reduced cost to the university. So even though, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The university is having to pay for the house to get taken down because it wouldn't be a state expense. It wouldn't be something that like the state or the prosecution would have to pay for. It's not a tax dollar situation. It's the university having it paid for. But I highly doubt that that's just like in the budget, right? So I'm wondering who's helping the university actually pay for that. In late October, the FBI accessed the house to gather additional data. As explained to the university, the scanning done by the FBI will allow them to create visual aids that could be used in the trial. And we've talked about this because they were supposed to have trial in October. And before everything got pushed back, we were being told by both sides, that it was okay if the house went away because it was basically useless. It was trash to both the defense and the prosecution. There was no reason to even bother with it anymore. It could go. Bye-bye. But then everything got pushed back and they're like, oh, now we have time to do the Pharaoh scanning the right way because whatever we had before, like we told everyone that it was going to be enough. We told everyone that we had what we needed and that we were trial ready with what we had already, but that wasn't true. So we're so glad that they decided to push everything back because now we can go and do it right. That's what all of that was to me. That's how I saw that entire thing. Because the second that they had the chance to, they went back and they redid the scan. And one thing is still like bothering me is how not only the defense is okay with the demolishing of the house, but also of like the no camera thing. Because I know if I was completely innocent of something and I was going in front of a court and it was going to be a televised situation, I would want the cameras there for everyone in the world to see my truth. I would want everyone and the most people possible to know my truth. So the fact that Bryan's okay with the cameras being taken out has kind of always bothered me because, I'm on the fence about what's happening here. And I'm really more concerned about, where the DNA samples were that John Daniels acquired from Bryan Kohberger's apartment from the search warrant for the first 10 days before they were put where they were supposed to be. And we've got no real information about where they were or what was going on to that piece of evidence, or shall I say those 3 pieces of evidence for those 10 days, right? We have all of these issues with the IGG stuff and all this secrecy. If things were more open, like a lot of these cases, they're clear cut and dry. They're black and white. You can't really sit there and pick them apart because they've got it together and it's noticeable. But we don't have that here. And that's why we have so many questions. This isn't like a lot of cases. That's the reason why it has so much attention. It's not just the fact that they're claiming that one man took away 4 lives in a matter of like 8 minutes here, because that's what they're trying to tell us, guys. That is what they're trying to tell us. But also, the way that things were happening, the way that things were found, a lot of this stuff, it just doesn't add up. It's not mathing to me. And I am not a complete idiot. I am not a fool. I'm not the smartest person on the planet. I know I've been wrong plenty of times, but there's just things here that just don't math to me. And I don't want the wrong person to be, put in front of a firing squad, but I don't want the wrong person to be let go either. If he's the one who did it, then they need to literally show their smoking gun. But I think that they thrive on this chaos. I really think that they do, because they can complain all they want to, okay, about true crimers and people coming to the area to take a look of what's going on and people talking about that area and blah, 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 blah. But how much money are they making? How much money are the businesses in that town making off of people coming in and being astonished by what's happening in this case? How much money is the university making because people are intrigued and feel sympathetic for the situation and they're just writing checks and adding additional zeros way more than normal? They can complain all they want to, but let's face it, let's just be realistic here. They all love the attention. So it just basically goes on to state that there's not going to be any statements by the defense, the prosecutor's office, the investigators, or law enforcement about the demolition because of the gag order. And then it goes on to give instructions for the media, because they know that the media is going to be there paying attention, recording everything, probably live streaming everything. I can pretty much like sit here and see like 4 different YouTubers' faces in my head that are probably going to show up there and be live streaming on their channel as this is going down on the 28th. For real. I wonder how the families are taking this. I know that a few of them, well, most of them, like 3 out of 4, because, the Chapins really aren't giving any comments on anything, right? But I know that the rest of the families, especially the Goncalveses, from what we're being told anyway, did not want the house demolished. They were in the right mindset on that point, wanting the house to stay until after trial. So I wonder if they were even given a heads up, or if this was just thrown at them the same way it was thrown at the public. Because, a lot of times it's been made pretty clear that all of the families, they pretty much know what we know. They hear the same rumors that we hear. They go through all of the same whirlwinds of information that we hear on the interwebs go through. They don't really know much more than we do. They really don't. So I'm wondering, did the families get a heads up? Or were they just surprised by the publicized statement? Curious minds. But I guess that's it for this update. I want to know what you guys think about the date being set, and if you think it's going to actually go through, or do you think something else is going to come up and they're going to move it back again? Because how many times have they said, yeah, this is whenever we're going to do it, and then they've changed their minds? I think I've mentioned this before, how I feel like they just come out and they say something because no one's talking about the case, and so they drop a statement to get people's attention, and then like half the time their statements have like no true intentions behind them. I've said that about the demolition of the house before, but maybe this time I'm wrong. Maybe this time they'll actually tear it down, as much as I really wish that they wouldn't until after trial. None of us have a say in anything, especially if the families don't. There's already been petitions signed by thousands of people. The state knows, the courts know that the families and the majority of the public think it's a crap idea to take the house down right now. But they're going to do what they want to do. But that's it. If you like this video, please not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you were not subscribed already. See y'all.